World of Warcraft is now making a new player housing system and have now let actual content creators player test it. In this video, we're reacting to a video from Preach where he said this, that they've learned from all the other player housing across multiple games and they're actually doing it better. And this is how.
The message was clear at my event with Blizzard this weekend. Housing is here to stay. They have been working on this for a really long time and it is way, way better than you think it's gonna be.
That's really good to know up front because he normally can be pretty critical. Not like overly critical, but like he's not one to just like hype up Blizzard just for no reason.
This thing that I went to with Blizzard is not the usual thing we get to do. This was not a marketing thing. We weren't allowed to record, do some interviews, but a lot of it can't be used because the devs were very open about where the future and stuff is going. And
that's a bummer. I was hoping they'd be able to show us.
We can't share that information, so we will have our interview on our other channel. If you don't know, because you only followed me for WoW stuff, I have held the largest Final Fantasy XIV housing events in the game over the last couple of years.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I was there, to talk about the kind of events and things we can do. Everybody else had their own purpose. We talked with individual devs, the whole team who's working out of their Boston office, who's been working on housing. We had like a UI dedicated person there who wanted negative feedback. They were very open of like, we get the praise. We want to hear where the problems are, where we can improve it, what things you've dealt with in other games, all that kind of thing. This is the focus. WoW is going very classic here in terms of Blizzard. They have looked at everything, and they're not shy about it either. They have looked at Valheim, Stardew Valley. They've looked at Final Fantasy XIV. Wow. They've looked at WildStar. They've looked at Path of Exile. They've looked at all these games, and they found what they like about it, and then they've made it better. I'm just going to say it. They have. They've made it better.
Whoa. That is a huge statement for him to make as someone that has actually played it with his own hands and seen it with his own eyes. Someone who's normally critical of Blizzard, for him to say they learned from all these games and now they're doing it better.
They look to what other games were doing. They like it. It's good. How do we take all that and then we make our own version, which is superior? And that is exactly what they've done. It's very classic 2004 to 2010 Blizzard, where they were so far ahead they were just making their own stuff.
Deal,
it didn't
man.
quite work out in some cases. So with that said, I'm just going to quick fire through some stuff for you to get your answers out there, all right? I'm doing this in a nice numbered list for you guys. Number one, houses are like the TARDIS. For non-Doctor Who fans, that means that the outside of the house, which is something you can decorate, does not equate to what is inside of the house. If you want a one-room entryway with a sprawling vast church on the second floor, and then you want your third floor to...
Did he just say church?
Sprawling vast church on the second floor, and then you want your third floor to turn into a 5-story tower jumping puzzle, you can do that. You can do whatever the hell you want with the shape, the rooms. It doesn't matter. You want to build a giant room? Go ahead and do that. They come in like these preset things, and you can just attach them to the side. Just have a button say, add another room. What do you want this to be? Do you want this to be a clock tower? Do you want it to be a double high, massive empty box? Do you want it to be a giant, wide open octagon space? Go ahead. Just clap it on. It doesn't matter what's beneath it in any way so far. The limitation is really...
Bro, that is... yeah, guys, we are now a full-time player housing streamer. Bro, you telling me, dude? Are you telling me? Yeah, dude, what even Mythic Plus? Raids? I suddenly forget how to do them. And all I care about is player housing, dude.
Are the rooms accessible? You can't just make a floating room off in the middle of nowhere that no one can get to. That you can't do. But yeah, do you want to make a giant mega jumping puzzle? Sure. Do you want to make a giant maze? Sure. Do you want to make hidden rooms with secret doorways and passages? Yep. You can totally do that. The whole focus is freedom. Number two, do you want random blocks and things just floating in midair? Do you want a 200% scaled candlestick that shoots through the ceiling and looks like it's stabbing you in the face? Yep. Go ahead and do that.
Oh my goodness, bro.
While we were talking to Jay Huang, who's been the art and prop guy for Blizzard for like over 15 years. He was literally doing demonstrations for us, and he was like, I designed that table in like Mists of Pandaria that's here now. He was saying that they did a ton of research. In particular, Valheim came up again. And
bro, this is nuts. We're going to be able to play Minecraft in World of Warcraft.
They have a gravity system, and it became very apparent. It's like, why are we bothering with gravity? Let's just not do that. It's not fun. Players always find ways and means of trying to glitch things to get them in the right place. So let's just do away with that and have them put things wherever they want. If the player just wants random stuff because they're creating a magical Karazhan themed place, Let them do it.
Oh my
it's
goodness,
fine.
bro.
It doesn't
Sup,
matter
KB?
whatsoever. Just let them go and do it. If you want to, just the limitation on this. You want to push things through a wall? Go ahead. It's not a problem. Do you want to bury this? Do you want this to just be enormous and an inconvenience for you? Yeah.
Here's why this surprises me. Because Blizzard is infamous from just like finding ways to just suck the fun out of things. They're like, hey, we're going to give you this option, but we're going to find ways to just have it not be fun. Finally, they're just like, this is a video game and everything is fake anyway. Have at it. Full send. Blizzard, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. You can literally just put stuff in free floating space wherever the hell you feel like it. Number 3, creativity is everything, okay?
Oh my goodness.
All the new items that are coming into WoW are designed with housing in mind, especially the dyeable ones, okay? Because if you haven't seen already, you can dye and change the color of some of the items. Not all, it's the new ones. And that is going to be the focus going forward, which we had confirmed with new assets coming into WoW. So they've got 2 problems they're dealing with. 1, a lot of the old items literally don't have like a bottom or a side on some of them because they were never going to be seen by the player. So why would you bother putting a bottom into it, right? So some tankards and carpets and things like that just don't have an underneath. They were never going to be seen. So they are retroactively going back and adding stuff to that over time.
That's a lot of work. And I respect the commitment to be able to do it.
And they pointed out that we get basically a push every other day of brand new items that are being added to the library that have been fixed by the art team. New items, though, are all being designed with this in mind.
Sure, makes sense.
That means that there's a new layer every time there's a big patch coming for World of Warcraft forevermore. This isn't going away. That means that if the next patch, based on the cutscene, and I'm not spoiling anything here, the cutscene is ethereal themed, you're going to get not only a new zone, awesome, new raid, awesome, but you're also going to get a bunch of new housing stuff because the assets for the new zone or whatever, if you think about how dense the Undermine is, are going to be...
So are we going to do Unity, like MTV or UTV cribs style housing competitions? Or what's going on here? Because this is going to be insane.
Joining the housing system as well, right? So you're going to get that new layer forevermore as long as, you know... If this works, which it should, there's just going to add, oh, cool, we're getting a new Murloc-themed or Troll-themed place. That also means we're getting a whole bunch of new housing things to come along with it. Number 4, how many items can you have? For those of you who've definitely played Final Fantasy XIV, you will have probably come up against the item cap in a house very regularly. You can have a very limited amount of items, which means if you make a very dense room that's full of micro details and really tiny little things to give it that really nice depth and wonderful flavor you want to go for, the likelihood is you'll hit the item cap and you'll have to block off the rest of the house because that will have to be empty. You literally cannot put more items into the house. That is not going to be a thing from what we can see in World of Warcraft at all. The item cap we got in the build we played with, which is not like the release candidate or anything, was 10,000 items. The most...
Bro, Final Fantasy, get wrecked, bro. Are you kidding me? Final Fantasy's item limit is 400 and WoW's is going to be 10,000. You could put 10,000 individual items in your game. That is like, I don't even know the math here. That is what, almost like 25 times greater than Final Fantasy's largest? That is absolutely insane, bro.
Dense buildings and rooms and houses they have created internally, which involves, if all the marketing you've seen for housing is one house that Jay built, it's one house. All the shots you've seen of different themes, restaurants, all that kind of stuff is just one house. They have not gone past 2,000 items.
Oh, wow.
You can be immense. Absolutely immense. This should not really be a thing. Now, having said that, there is a caveat to it. Everything we were able to build in our build meant that one item took up one slot of the 10,000, right? That's not probably going to be the case in the live version because not everything is made equal. Sure. If you want to put
like this beer bug is not the same as the entire table, right? Okay, so that makes sense. That makes sense.
A 200-foot rotating giant windmill in your building, which you can do right now. We did that. That will maybe take 5 slots, right? Whereas an undermined goblin pointing arrow that you attach to a wall will be 1. So they will vary that a little bit, but generally speaking, items will not be a limitation in doing this.
Wow.
Number 5, how hard is it to use? It is stupidly easy to use.
Yes.
Like, To the point where the easy mode we didn't use because we defaulted to the advanced mode more than anything because we were rubbish with using the easy mode, which they came around and were like, everything you're trying to do right now in advanced mode, you could do very easily in the easy mode because you have snap mode where it will just like clip to things, and if you say put segments of a floor together to make a fountain area, it will go, oh, you're making a circle, we'll just clip it together, or you can detach it or whatever, so you can move the whole thing. Bro. If you put several things together, you then have freeform mode, so you can just rotate it using the mouse wheel or whatever, you can do whatever you want to do, and then you have the advanced mode where you can change the shape, size of it, and individual rotations, and spin it, and do all kinds of things. You can actually do that with the easy mode, it's just that we were rubbish with that, and we just defaulted to the advanced mode, which was still really easy to use. That is totally fine. It's very, very simple to use. They've done a great job here. I was actually really surprised. There are some limitations based on the feedback we gave, which is going to be added to the game. Like, I want to make sure you understand that everything I'm talking to you about now has been directly fed back to them, and they're fully aware of it. So, such things as a quick bar. If you're building, like Draknos built this very intense maze to get lost in, you're probably going to be using one piece of wall many, many times. So a hotbar to put that on, so I could just click that hotbar and keep going. Because you can keybind everything that you're doing here, which is great. I rebound all my keys to housing very quickly, and it worked out super well. You probably want that on a hotbar and a favorites list. That's all coming into the game. One thing that is missing right now that they're working on is a history mode. I'll talk more about that later in the limitations. But generally speaking, cloning is more difficult. Let's say you make a very custom thing. So one example, I made this view through a window, which is a very common thing to do in housing. Where I took a piece of wall, I then like scaled it to a certain way to get a piece of the wall, and then I buried that wall into the floor so that I could create this window outlet that was the right size for my character.
Bro, look at the creativity and the customization. This just looks like the, that beam that goes down the middle of your window, but it's not. It is like a completely created thing that he made to make it look that way.
I took a piece of wall, I then like scaled it to a certain way to get a piece of the wall, and then I buried that wall into the floor. So
like, look at that. That's actually what that windowsill middle, whatever the real name is. That is crazy. And they're going to let us do stuff like this in WoW.
So that I could create this window outlet that was the right size for my character. All that kind of stuff took very specific measurements. I can't then clone that piece to say I want the window to be twice as wide. So I want to clone that and do it again. That's a limitation they're working on, and a history mode to go back through various changes that you made. They want to check it. That is a technical issue that they're trying to resolve for that. But at the same time, it's not a mega inconvenience because all the information is given to you very easily. All the degrees are listed numerically, so you can just easily copy them, as well as the scaling numbers.
When you are moving stuff around, it tells you the exact degree you had it at, so that you know exactly like what to do again if you want to copy it. Dude, that's like super advanced.
So it's a minor inconvenience, nice to have for those kinds of things that you want to have. Number 6 then, performance. Wow. You're probably worried about performance, right? You've got to think about it. This is actually not going, it's no different than a building in WoW without the rest of the outside world loaded either. There's a lot of things in there. I will say, I'm not going to mention any names. Some people did try to crash it by filling the 10,000 slots and didn't manage it. They've tried. They tried to lag it by making the most ridiculous things you could possibly imagine. Let's put it this way. If your game runs okay in the open world, you're going to be absolutely fine. And if you want to try, I have no doubt somebody will be able to lag this game out. Of course they will. Or create some sort of glitchy issue within this. But it's going to be an uphill battle that you're going to be trying to force to happen, right?
Okay.
That's going to be...
Yeah, one thing I'll say about WoW, WoW's not a perfect game by any means, but one thing I will say, I've always felt its performance on your PC was always really well done. The game is very well optimized, at least in my opinion, in my experience.
Be the thing that's going to happen there. Okay, those are the general things outside of what you've seen in announcements. Obviously, I'm looking at this with you have some preface knowledge. So at the beginning of my day, within the first hour when the devs were hanging out with us, I was like, you've opened this, the word of the thing I said was, this is Pandora's box.
Yeah,
and that then became like the word of the day. There's already way more creativity and freedom than I expected from the first version of housing.
It's crazy.
And the problem you have now, which I think we all ran into, is you start having really grand ideas about things that you want. that aren't there yet, like ridiculous things, because you have this whole massive template in front of you and you want to fulfill more insanity. You just want more and more things to do with it. Like, I want mega spotlights to create crazy shadows and things. And they're like, yep, that's coming. We're totally working on that. And now
so
I
cool
want like tailored music. Can I get music to like be in this zone of the room? And then the music shifts here so I can almost tell a story, because I can predict this like horror themed place where I want somebody to see something in a corridor, and then the music shifts, and they're like, yep, we're working on that. All those kind of things. But that's their issue they're going to run into. So I'm going to move into limitations and things now. Everything I'm about to tell you, we have already fed back to the devs. Dude, and they're aware of it, and they're looking at it. And be under no illusion, everything I'm talking about right now is one of like infinite avenues that Blizzard now has to explore over the next 10 years. So number one, import export. All right, let's face facts.
What's that?
Most of us, especially me, are not creative geniuses when it comes to housing.
His editor, dude, put anything up. That's hilarious. Trainer, don't get any funny ideas, right, brother?
I don't have the patience to do the minute detail, but there are those people out there, and this opens a whole new avenue for super users and truly amazing creative people to build wonderful, wonderful things. Now, here's the issue you run into, and this occurs if you're not aware of or you've not played a game with housing before. This is actually a genuine thing. You're opening the possibility of account sharing because you want those people to come and do your house. Hell, we do this not with account sharing, is we commission people and they build things in properties they have access to for us, be that for the Race to World First, if we're doing an FF14 Race to World First, or for our parties and themed parties that we want to do. We have commissioned artists who go out and create these properties for us.
We're gonna be able to have like unity parties and like this is gonna open up a whole new avenue. This is crazy.
And they're phenomenal, right? These builders are absolutely phenomenal. Similar to what we have already in WoW with loadouts and talents and things, import-export is a massive deal for me. One, you want to curb any possibility of account sharing whatsoever, or you want to be able to give moderation rights to another player to say, like, you are the server's... Esfand actually had a really good point here. It's like, when in Classic, somebody gets the recipe of, say, Lionheart Helm, that's the Lionheart Helm guy. And you want to speak to that guy and get them involved. That is going to happen with housing with these very creative people and gives a whole new lease on life for the game.
Wow.
Is you want them to either be able to come in and work on your property, right? Or you want creators, new fresh YouTubers and streamers and things who build these magnificent things and are then able to upload it and share it so that you're curbing that. And also people can have wonderful, glorious houses that they just not are creatively inclined or have the patience all the time to invest in and to share in what those guys create. So that would be a huge plus. If you've ever played Path of Exile, you'll...
So it seems like he's saying would like to have this in the game, but unless I'm misunderstanding, I don't think he's saying that it's yet in the game, where literally someone builds this masterpiece of a house. They give you the copy and paste code, you enter it in, and now you also have your own masterpiece of a house, but you didn't have to build it.
No, this is a huge thing. People create these wonderful and also, you know, outlandish housing arts to do things. Two, longevity. This is a big concern of mine. Dead neighborhoods are a very real thing, especially in FF14. Everybody wants a house. Everybody can get a house, and wow, it's far easier than ever to get a house. Everybody has access to one, and then the internals of the house are completely untouched. They have the house, they have their plots, and then they don't do anything with it. An enormous percentage of houses are just bare empty inside. Now,
and that's so crazy because in Final Fantasy XIV, not really everybody can get a house. Basically, the rich, the patient, and the lucky get a house because it's like a lottery system. That must drive people nuts because I didn't know that.
This is where the neighborhoods are going to come in because you'll know how it feels, right? You will be very excited week one to come into it, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to leave it alone now, right? You don't want that to happen. So neighborhoods are something they weren't able to publicly, I'm dancing around it here, tell us much about. That's what I'll say, because they're not ready to give detail on that. However, we were with the neighborhood lead, Toby, who was, I'll say this for the public viewing, nudge us in the direction that they're going with this. So They were very clear. We do not want housing to be something that's like bolted onto the game, and that's a separate feature of the game. So you have World of Warcraft, and then you have WoW housing. It's kind of got this distinct line between it.
Luna's
and that's where neighborhoods will come in. They're giving you like low 50s, so they weren't specific. It's like 50 to 55, depending. Housing slots, which should be more than large enough for a good active guild. Obviously, if you're in a crazy cesspool guild with like hundreds and hundreds of just nameless people in there, that's not quite big enough. Have multiple neighborhoods. But for, you know, the vast majority of active interactive guilds, that will be fine. But they're going to be holding events there. Seasonal events and things like that will be happening. Outside construction will be going on, and hopefully the activity to create events will be a big deal in order to incentivize you actually going back there. So this isn't, say, Siren Isle. I go, I get my ring, and I just leave, and I never go back there again unless I want some pets or something like that. That's not what they're going for here, because that is a real issue in other games where housing is a separate game. 14 would be an example of that. And if you're not into it, you just never see it again. I have a house because I got the achievement. You have a house, right? Number 3 then would be return visits. Coming back to this, they're going to have a progression system, right? This is another big concern of mine that I made them aware of, and they're working to make sure this doesn't happen, is that they will have some sort of progression system, right? I got to play, as the rest of us did, with basically a fully unlocked housing system.
Okay.
However, if this system comes in and week 1 I am that super hype guy, and I've got all these ideas, I go to my house, and I obviously, depending on what your past history with the game is, it's going to unlock a bunch of stuff for you immediately. If you've got achievements and things, it'll go, oh, you already did this, so it's just unlocked for you. But you will have limitations. So you want to build this crazy jumping puzzle that's going to be like 6 stories high. It's going to have a connecting bridge across the middle that connects to something else, and you've got this huge idea. However, you go week 1, and you're kind of limited to floor 2 and maybe like 4 rooms. And you're like, oh, okay. And it's not until you get to like progression track 5 to get more things. But by the time you hit that, you've kind of lost interest. That excitement has dwindled away. And you just can't be bothered, right? It's kind of just fallen into, oh, okay, well, I've unlocked it. I'll go and check that weekend maybe, or anything like that. That is a real problem that I don't want them to run into. People should be able to do some pretty amazing things day 1. I think that's a vital part of this. They're aware of it. They're going to do stuff to incentivize you there. I want to be clear on this, though. If you don't want to engage with housing, they were very clear on this, then you don't have to. They want to incentivize you going back and investigating your neighborhoods and going seeing it, so it's not unfamiliar. It's not a forgotten part of the game. This is evergreen. This is something that's going to be here forevermore.
That's good. They shouldn't make this something that people feel like they have to do, but only if they want to do it, which I think is really, really good.
But if you were like, I hate housing, sure, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Then you won't have to deal with it in any way. So they're not going to tie it to anything. Number 4.
That's good. That's real good.
Utility. Oh my God. There were a couple of, I'm not mentioning names, but a couple of young creators there who were not there during the Garrison days. I was really lucky in the, I don't know if they're releasing any of the pictures because they took a lot of us during these round. We literally had a big bunch of chairs in a circle where we were all shooting back and forth.
Oh my goodness.
I was sat next to Paul Cubitt. That name might not mean anything to you, but it should. Paul's been there forever. I interviewed him back when I went to visit the campus. This guy is a creative genius, responsible for a lot of cool things in World of Warcraft. And some of the younger creators who were there were like, what about utility? What can we have, like an auction house? Can we have? And I was like, oh no, it's happening again.
Well, that
no.
But that's honestly, that's a question I was wondering, because there is a version of player housing in old school RuneScape called construction, and you can put a lot of things in your house that are super convenient for the game. Portals. You can put ways to recharge certain things, and it's very, very convenient. However, if it's not careful, then it will cause people to not have to go out in the open world to do stuff, and then it ends up being like Garrisons, where people spend so much time in their own homes because it just has everything they need. That I don't want, because I don't want WoW to lose its MMO feel, right? So that's something I want to make sure they're careful. I'm cool with some conveniences, but retail already has so many conveniences over Classic that the world does feel a lot emptier than Classic does, because people are everywhere because they have to be, because they have to go places. So I want them to be careful of that.
It was nice to see the devs were like, look, we're not saying no. And I will give massive shouts here to Zeppler, a big FF14 creator, who was very clear on a good suggestion that the devs were like, That's a really good idea. So the idea of mining and herbing came up because wouldn't it make sense that the neighborhood has like a garden that can get the herbs and things like that? Sure. And I was like, oh no, it's happening all over again. But then we had good suggestions like, well, what if there is gardens and things, but the things you're growing there are actually to unlock housing things? That makes total sense. That is totally fine, because what we can do here is add in profession items where there are specialists who can build very specific items, and that uses like the neighborhood system and all that kind of stuff to create those things, which other people might not engage with, and then be able to commission, you know, things to go in the auction house and things like that in the cities.
Okay.
They didn't say no to everything. Like, it does make sense that there's some sort of mailbox or something like that available in the neighborhoods. That fits, but they're very wary of adding utility in any form to this that actually is like progression utility to the outside game. Because if you weren't there during WoD and you're not sure why my heart skips a beat whenever this comes up, garrisons had utility and function in them. They had a mine, they had a herb garden. It meant there was no reason to go out into the world at all, because you could daily collect.
And that I don't want to see that happen again.
Everything you would ever need for your flasks, potions, your self-fulfilling prophecy, and when you had alts, you could cover every profession in the game without ever leaving your base. And it was instant stuff. It just killed the world. Like, you don't want that at all. Next one is acceptance of this. This is going to be an interesting journey for WoW players. Roleplay in particular, again, this is why Pandora's box kept coming up. Roleplay has been looked down upon by a lot of WoW players, despite the fact that roleplay servers are a huge thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Goldshire is coming to you.
And roleplay has existed forever in World of Warcraft, right? And I know from my experience where housing is already a thing, is this opens the doors to infinite possibilities of what's going to be happening within the game that they need to be aware of. Some of it was a bit extreme, that they were like, really? I'm like, yeah, like traveling casino. One thing I
do like about WoW's player housing, RP will be inevitable, right? And will that introduce some of the weird parts of it? Absolutely. However, because Final Fantasy has a futuristic type look, like not futuristic, more of a realistic-ish type look, way more realistic than World of Warcraft, and because it's a JRPG, so it's, you know, it insinuates parts of the female body, then RP type moments like this become weird, right? WoW is very not like that. Will RP like this happen? The weird ERP erotic roleplay, is that going to happen? Sure. But here's the deal. If they're doing it in their own house, I don't have to see it. The thing about like Goldshire is it was happening in a public place. That's why that place became so weird and notorious for that. But if people want to do something in their old house, I mean, that's their decision. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as Final Fantasy is. But I mean, I guess we'll find out.
Casinos, right? Gambling is a big no-no in World of Warcraft, but you're going to have traveling casinos because players figured out a long time ago how to have active gambling within the game, especially with trustworthy organizations, which are now going to be a thing in World of Warcraft. You're going to know the proper Gallywix Casino Discord, and these guys will turn up and they will provide bars and they will provide various different gambling games that can be played without any of the utility of the game itself between players. They can play blackjack together and all this kind of stuff with /roll, and all these kind of things have been done before. You're going to have that. You're going to have strip clubs, right? You think Goldshire is bad, and some people go, strip clubs. Like, dude, this is already in the game in a long way. Check out Drama Time on a Friday. This already exists in a huge way, and now you're going to have organized ones, like genuinely organized ones with proper parties and things going on. That is absolutely going to happen.
Yeah.
But on the less degenerate side, you're going to have things like the DJ population, which you guys probably don't even know about. There is a huge amount of live venue DJs that are extraordinary, right? I think of names like Miu Fei, DJ Cyborg, all these people who have regularly DJ'd parties in FF and spin off like remixes of the soundtrack.
I'm not gonna lie, that's actually pretty cool.
Tracks and things like that to the game in a wonderful way and help host parties. These are now going to be an active thing in World of Warcraft because they'll have venues to go to and people will be able to attend. This is something I'm super excited for because I was skeptical, like many of you are, as to how this actually plays out, because you always think it's cringe and people just ERPing all over the place. But like, that's not the case at all. And I know you don't believe me, but when you visit these things, I encourage you to do, you'll be like, oh, that's not what this is. This is actually something really different and a lot of people having fun. And more importantly, player-made events. This is the evergreen content that you want in your MMO, because this opens the door for the social elements that World of Warcraft specifically has lacked for a really long time.
Very long time. World of Warcraft for many years was, if you either raid Mythic Plus in PvP, or you, for the most part, play the game by yourself and mount farm, do professions, farm transmog. But there was very few ways to play the game in what most people would call casually, meaning they're not doing like the Mythic Plus PvP raids. There was very few ways to play the game casually, but still together. Most people who wanted to do the non-combat forms of an MMO, which should not be the only elements of an MMO, you pretty much played by yourself. This opens up a world of abilities, of ways to play the game in a non-combat way, but actually doing it together rather than solo. I think this is going to be massive for the health and growth of World of Warcraft.
With phasing and innocuous names and people being changed from their name to rogue or mage or whatever. The resistance is going to be there for this, but ultimately, if it's handled well and it's encouraged and Blizzard supports these kinds of events and publicizes major ones, then this is going to be an immense addition to the game. There's so much more that I want to talk about with you guys, but I want to keep it as short as possible. So we'll have the full interview over on our second channel. Like
we're going to watch that too.
But
not in this YouTube video, but we are going to watch it on the stream. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe and join the live streams to catch up more content like this. Let's go.
The idea of IP crossover for different themes, right? Can we get StarCraft themed stuff? What if I kill Lilith on hardcore in D4? Can I then have a Lilith trophy? I will say, like NPCs working in the houses, right? This is a big thing that I can play dress up with. People love doing that kind of stuff. My warband alts hanging out. They already have shown your pets and stuff will be available. All these kind of things. And the message is clear from me. If this is version 1 that I got to test of the housing, they've way exceeded expectations by a long, long way. It was really nice that they stopped a lot of the feedback to say, this is great, all the positive. We want the negative. Where are you running into issues? And we gave a lot, especially on like UI interactions, search criteria, all this kind of stuff. We really looked at everything. Basically, if you can think of it, they've thought about it and are working on it, but they're working on Pandora's box.
That's so cool.
Every single person who plays with housing is going to want something else.
Everyone's going to want something totally different. It's going to be impossible to please everyone for sure.
It's going to be coming. It's going to take time. This is years and years of work. But for a starting point, how they kept this a secret for as I now know how long they've been working on this. How in the hell they kept this secret, I don't know. But it's pretty exciting. It's really cool. So there you go. Any other questions, you can find me on Twitch, and I'll answer whatever I can, because by the time you see this, the embargo's lifted. Hey! All right. Bye, guys.
Dude, that is absolutely wild. I cannot wait for Unity cribs, you know, like house tours, house parties. Like, dude, like even just the social aspect. I want to put a dining room table and sit around it. I want to have officer meetings with my officers around the table. You know, like I want to do all the things, man. Oh, this is so exciting. And like I said, I think this is such a great just social aspect for the game that WoW has lacked, that a lot of other MMOs have. And so I am so excited for this. I think it's incredible. And again, if you want to join our Unity gaming community, links are all in the description below. If you're looking for a positive place to play World of Warcraft on a mission, end toxicity and loneliness in the gaming community events, multiple raid teams, Mythic Plus Mondays, and just a great place to enjoy life and gaming together. Come be a part. We'd love to have you. We'll see you there.